She covered her face in shame the moment he walked into the room. Her hands trembled, her shoulders curled inward, and the loose strands of hair that fell over her cheeks felt like a curtain she desperately needed to hide behind. But the single dad standing at the doorway didn't move. His voice was gentle but unwavering, the kind that wrapped around a person like a warm blanket. "Don't hide from me," he said quietly. And in that moment, Lena felt something she hadn't felt in a long, long time: safety. The morning had started like any other, with Lena rushing between her part-time classes and her weekend job at the small neighborhood library. But today had gone terribly wrong. A group of classmates had photographed her worn-out shoes and second-hand clothes, posted them online, and laughed as the post spread. She saw the comments. She felt everyone like a needle pressing into her skin. She thought she had gotten used to being invisible. She didn't expect to become a joke instead. By noon, she couldn't breathe. She hid inside the library storage room, sinking against the shelves as tears ran silently down her face. That's where Aaron found her. He had walked in hopping to find a book for his 10-year-old daughter, Grace, but instead heard muffled sobs behind the supply boxes. He didn't know who was crying. He only knew someone was hurting. When Lena realized someone had entered, she panicked. She turned her face to the wall, wiping the tears with her sleeve, but the more she tried to compose herself, the more she seemed to fall apart. That's when Aaron spoke, calm, patient, and genuinely human. "Don't hide from me," he repeated, stepping closer but keeping a respectful distance. "I'm not here to judge you." His words cracked something open inside her. Slowly, reluctantly, she lowered her hands. Her eyes were red, swollen, and filled with humiliation. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want anyone to see me like this." "There's nothing wrong with crying," he said softly, "but no one deserves to cry alone." It wasn't the first time Aaron had recognized pain. As a single father raising Grace, he had seen loneliness up close. He had held his daughter through nights she asked why her mother had disappeared when she was only 4. He had worked multiple jobs to keep them afloat while fighting the quiet fear of failing her. But the moment he saw Lena, he saw that same loneliness reflected back, years of carrying too much on her own. Lena tried to explain what had happened, but her voice broke halfway. Aaron didn't push. He simply listened. And in a world where she had always felt unheard, his silence meant more than any words. Grace, who had been browsing a shelf nearby, soon peeked into the storage room. "Dad?" she asked, then paused when she noticed Lena's tears. Children have a way of seeing truth without judgment. "Are you okay?" Grace asked with innocent concern. Lena nodded, though it wasn't true. But Grace didn't believe her. Instead, she walked forward and offered the lollipop she had saved for after lunch. "You can have it. My teacher says sweet things help when people are sad." For the first time that day, a tiny smile tugged at Lena's lips. Over the next hour, the three of them sat at the small staff table, talking over tea Aaron insisted on making. Lena finally opened up, sharing how the pressure of juggling studies, work, and financial struggles had been weighing her down. The online humiliation had been the final push that cracked her resolve. Aaron shared his own story, how he had been left to raise Grace alone, how he almost gave up during the early years, how he learned that strength wasn't about staying untouched by life, but about standing back up each time life hit hard. "You're stronger than you think," he told Lena gently. She shook her head. "I don't feel strong." "That's exactly when you need someone to remind you." The next few weeks brought challenges for both of them. Lena still faced whispers at school, still fought anxiety whenever her phone buzzed. Aaron struggled with long work hours and the fear of not being enough. But now, they had something they didn't have before: each other's support. Aaron often visited the library with Grace, sometimes bringing homemade sandwiches when he knew Lena skipped lunch to save money. Lena helped Grace with homework, discovering how naturally the little girl trusted her. Their small moments grew into quiet comfort, the kind that slowly stitched wounded hearts back together. One evening, after a particularly brutal day when another round of comments had resurfaced online, Lena spiraled again. She locked herself inside the library restroom, gripping the sink as hot tears blurred her vision. She didn't hear the footsteps outside. She didn't realize Aaron had come looking for her after Grace said she seemed sad. He knocked softly. "Lena, are you in there?" She didn't reply, but she couldn't hide the sound of her crying. When she finally opened the door, her hands flew to her face again, instinctively trying to shield herself. But Aaron gently took her wrists, not forcefully, just enough to lower them. "Hey," he whispered, "I told you don't hide from me." And this time, those words didn't just comfort her. They broke her. She fell into his arms, and he held her firmly, protectively, as if anchoring her back to the world. In his embrace, she realized something profoundly healing. Someone finally saw her and didn't turn away. Someone didn't see her as a burden, a joke, or a responsibility. Someone saw her worth. From that day forward, Lena stopped apologizing for existing. Slowly, she learned to meet her own reflection again without shame. She faced her classes with quiet courage. She ignored the whispers. She discovered her voice, her confidence, her right to take up space in a world that had convinced her she didn't deserve it. And Aaron, in helping her heal, realized he too had been lonely. He had been so focused on staying strong for his daughter that he had forgotten he was allowed to lean on others as well. Lena became his calm, his support, someone who understood the weight he carried without him needing to explain. As seasons changed, the three of them formed a small but unbreakable family, not bound by blood, but by empathy, understanding, and the courage to let someone in. The day Grace slipped her hand into Lena and said, "Can you come to my school show? I want you there," Lena felt tears, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from belonging. And when Aaron looked at her later that evening and said, "You don't have to hide anymore. Not from the world and not from us," the truth of it settled deep into her heart. She wasn't alone. She was valued. She was loved. The story of their healing wasn't perfect, but it was real. It proved that sometimes the people who appear the quietest are carrying the heaviest storms, and sometimes the simplest words, "Don't hide from me," can change someone's entire life.